take digital ID, for example. It's the most well-known conspiracy theory, which is becoming reality. That's right. I mean, I can't argue with that. But if you were this all-powerful, all-knowing entity or organization, would you really use the least popular prime minister and the Labour Party to just throw it all out there out of nowhere instead of coming out with some real plan, right? It's like, even I could do it probably better. I would just work out on some sort of event which would lead to people, the population, coming up with an idea, say, oh God, you see what happened here? We now have to have something to prevent from happening again. Oh, I know, we're going to have this digital ID. Yeah, it's a conspiracy theory, but we need it, right? It's like, it would make so much more sense, especially if there's somebody so smart, so powerful that it can control everything around ourselves and our lives. So, you see, I'm not saying that the world is not run by conspiracies. I think it is. Anybody who's been working in a big business, corporations, making any deals understands pretty well that the world is run by conspiracies, and has been, always has been. But I think we tend to give too much power to these all-knowing, mysterious organizations or figures or people or beings who knows how things will play out, and then we kind of give up our freedoms for it. You see, what if all of these things happening are precisely because we think it's pre-planned and is some master plan with some genius behind it, and there's no point of us even resisting it. And that is my point. I fear that by giving up our freedoms and power, which we have a lot, we are actually allowing all these things to unfold in front of us. And then we say, you see, I told you it's pre-planned. Let me tell you a bit more about this, and maybe I'll offer you slightly different angle. Okay, I'm not here to dismiss all the conspiracy theories. I don't really, and frankly, I think lots of them are actually real. But it's important to have a different point of view, and not to surrender your power, because we do have power, each one of us, and of course, then as a community, as a society, and there is no single power out there which can control all of us, precisely of how they planned, right? So let's start with this. If you ever worked in a big corporation, if you run a big business, work with a big business, work on the big deals with lots of money involved, you would agree with me that there is a lot, and I mean a lot, incompetent people in power, right? In charge of all those things. The average person might think that, oh my God, this amazing corporation, extremely rich, or I don't know, I don't want to name corporation, but let's say some corporation A, which is extremely successful, well known, must be run by super smart, extremely competent people. But in theory, there is at the very least, half of people in charge, the executives, are completely incompetent, right? It's happening all over everywhere. Look at the politicians, look at the board of directors of the biggest organizations, national organizations. Things are not the way we think they are. These people like to present themselves as these powerful, well-educated, experienced people who knows what they're doing. It's the same thing with politicians. And then they do stupid things in front of us, and it was like, hang on, surely you're not that dumb, right? But they are. That is the whole reality, okay? So with this said, think about, we're having really hard time in controlling large organizations, large trusts, businesses, right? It's really hard. You're gonna have, if you have 10 people in charge, quite likely 5 or 6 of them are there, shouldn't even be there. So if we know this, imagine what it would take to control the whole world. Imagine this organization built by these individuals who would have to be extremely well educated, experienced, and they would have to be able to work together on this biggest plan ever. And they would have to agree on everything. They would have to just understand what they're doing. They could not have any fight in between themselves. They couldn't have any personal dramas, personal history. It's impossible, if you think about this, to control this kind of, that size of the organization with this much big plan. Think about these, every person involved, they have families, right? They have family problems. Every single person around the planet has got their own problems, no matter how powerful or rich you are. the problems will find you, right? And they are sometimes bigger problems than the poor people. Like there is no, monopoly for problems based on how rich you are, and or how poor. So if you think about this, if you know that businesses and organizations are really run quite often by pure luck and good timing, and maybe two, three, four people competent enough to actually keep everything together, it would make you question the theory about world being run by these all-powerful entities or organization, and they all know what they're doing. I know people would say George Soros, but have you seen George Soros' son in public? Have you seen him speaking in public? I'm sorry, but I think he's the worst public speaker ever. And if you know anything about public speaking, it's in the it's an it's a trait which is associated with how well you can think. Okay, so if you have somebody who can't speak openly in front of a camera, and not even like me on the YouTube in the comfort of my own home, but in front of other people, in front of many cameras, then that person, if he can't talk well, put all these thoughts together nicely and make it like, oh yeah, he's interesting. No, he's not like this. And if you haven't heard, haven't listened to him, please do. You will understand that this guy there's no chance, there's zero chance he's in charge of this powerful organization running the world. Like zero, it cannot happen. Now, I'm not saying there are not plans and people trying to build these things. I'm sure they are, but they are not as powerful as we tend to make them. Okay, so I think the actual power behind all these organizations and people, even like World Economic Forum, like you see these people coming from all over the world. Like you look at their faces, look at them. Like these people have not enough power to run everything. They have not enough brain power. They have not enough anything. They can't. They go there, they talk about these things, they plan, yeah, then they go back homes. And kind of they're trying to push it forward, but things are very clunky, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what the real power for all of these people is the actual belief thrown at us that they know what they're doing completely, and there is no point of even trying to change this, right? And this is what I see quite often in the comments under my videos from people who say like, oh, this is completely pre-planned, this is agenda 2030, this is agenda this or that organization is pre-planned, this person was in charge, and it's been going on for like 10 years. Yeah, but no. If you can see it patterns, yeah, you can see that there is something in there. Of course, they are meeting, like you've got China, they're planning for like 50 years ahead, right? But they can't pre-plan every single move. So same would happen here. Like it can be overall agenda, like, hey, how about we control people more closely? Like they want to manage us, absolutely, right? People, whoever's in charge of the bigger organizations, bigger governments, they want to have more power. Power is an ultimate drug, right? So once you get that much power, you don't want to just give it back. You don't want to give up that power. So then you need to plan on how to keep people controlled so you can keep that power, stay in power. And that is it. And then they want to put this idea out there and people to believe that they have so much power that you cannot do anything, therefore don't even try. And I feel that this is the ultimate mistake we do. And especially like, we people who understand a little bit more maybe reality or have questions things more, because we tend to corner ourselves into this dispowering ourselves, thinking like, what's the point? And that's exactly why things are unfolding the way they are, because we are not pushing back. Okay, there's not enough resistance because people don't know about these things. That's the majority of people. They have no time, no desire to know about these things. They're just ignorant maybe. And it's fine. I'm not judging. It's fine. Sometimes I feel like being ignorant is actually there's a saying, right? Ignorance is a bliss. But if you're not ignorant, if you know these things, as I can see it, like if you see it, you question it, and it makes you think about it more and say, oh God. But then that's one part. And another part, from people like us who actually might see things unfolding in front of us, we tend to put ourselves into this position like, okay, that is it. Like we overthink, we give too much power to these people in control. So I think by being open to what's happening is extremely important. By preparing for what might happen is important. But it's even more important to understand that the real power is not concentrated in one place. It's scattered across different countries, different places. You see it in politics, you see it in business, you see it everywhere. There is no reason to think that everywhere else apart from this world government they can keep power together and they execute plans step by step with like 100% accuracy. They can't. And if you can't, then that is where my next point comes in, is like, why do we allow these things to happen the way they are? So I think the actual reality is much simpler than we like to make it. Things are this way because we, as a like generally people, like to know that there's somebody in control. There's somebody driving a bus. Even if a driver, right, people in control are the bad people, we still have this sort of comfort thinking like, okay, at least there is something and I don't have to overthink about what's going to happen tomorrow. I think the actual reality is there is nobody in control. There are many fractions and powers fighting between each other. That's why we see conflicts, never-ending conflicts across the whole planet. And every now and then, one or two of those powers groups trying to be on the top, and they're trying to project this picture onto us, how powerful they are, and it's now going to be the way they want. And then the next power comes in and they just challenge them and they can't agree, they disagree, and then they have a conflict. And then you have countries fighting, etc. Right? So I don't think it's actually even this bit is planned. It's like, it's just if you think about human nature, if you know about anything about people, as people, we are very conflicting. We like conflict. We will fight, but if we have different points of view, like look at the comments under my videos, right? There's like constant fight between people who are for or against whatever I talk about in my videos. And then if you think about it, it's like majority of people do not like have a chaos and uncertainty in their lives. They would rather choose a belief into this all-powerful organization built by bad people who are still in control because they know what they're doing, instead of admitting that you are in charge of your own life, period. There are people and organizations which will make it easier or harder, absolutely. But there's not one single place where they can dictate what to do, how to do it, and what happens next globally. Like, it cannot even happen in one country. So I think the psychology is there because the way we are wired. And if you add on top of it social media, for example, which allows everyone to have an opinion and voice that opinion out there, and then add another layer of social media algorithms which like a little bit drama, conspiracies, right? And then you have this never-ending rabbit hole which people tend to get lost in. You have a perfect example, perfect scenario, perfect environment for these kind of thinking, these kind of theories to stay or to be alive and be fueled by the people who claim they want to avoid it. Yeah, you see what I'm saying, right? It's like, and them in power, they understand this. Therefore, they're just not going to go up and say, hey guys, this is not how it is. The reality is different. No, they're actually using it because they see that we actually disarming ourselves by surrendering our powers to these supposedly powerful organizations or beings. But in reality, they only are this powerful because we believing in their power. Okay, it's like no difference to how the monetary system works. The money you have, the notes, the pounds or US dollars, the only power they have, their only worth is in because we believe in them, right? It's like it's a piece of paper backed by our belief, like how much you can buy with that money. But if the money itself is worthless, it's a piece of paper, right? It's no different to tissue, napkin, or whatever. So if you think about this, it would make more sense. Now, is it the most popular belief? Probably not. I don't even think, I doubt this video is going to be as popular as it could be if I would be the guy saying, oh my God, it's all run by conspiracies. But A, it's just my belief. B, I'm just mature enough to have more balanced point of view. And C, I know it's never always, it's never one way, right? The world is not built this way. It's never like, this is the whole truth. Like, there are conspiracies. And they're not even theories. They're called theories in order for us not to discuss them. But it doesn't mean they run everything. It doesn't mean they never make mistakes. It doesn't mean they're always powerful and they're gonna be like this forever. I don't agree with that. And I feel like if more people would understand that it's good to see those things, it's good to talk about this or even think about this, absolutely. But not to surrender your powers and actually be in charge of your own life. Many people would just have just better lives, right? And even if there is this one powerful organization, WEF, right, World Economic Forum, whatever, and this one person leading it, and everybody agrees, and they come up with this perfect plan which they can execute perfectly, it still gives you it still makes more sense to actually believe in yourself and in your life and just live your life to your best abilities instead of just surrendering it to these, you know, individuals you'll never see or never meet. Because even if they can control this whole show, a planet, or countries, coming down to you as an individual, as a one person or one unit, as a family, it's like they have zero control over it. Like they can throw the control over the country, but not over you. So the way you react to it is the most important part. More important how you react to it rather than them, and enforcing some sort of law across the country. And we've seen it in COVID, we've seen it in conflict, we've seen digital ID, we've seen it in many politics policies. They trying to throw at people or introduce quote right to us, and then we say no thanks, and they still try, and then we just resist. We just not we just don't we choose not to be part of it, right? We just decided not to be involved, or we just say like we're not going to do it. And the best example was, I think, during COVID. Although it was very, it was rolled across almost whole planet, it was not as bad as people would tend to think. It's like, this is it, this is the end of everything, right? I don't think so. And there were many people who just resisted, and then we managed to stay sane still, right? We lost a lot of sanity, of course, but still, lots of people actually saw what it really was. So that's it. That's my point. I think there is a big chance it's all planned, yes, but it's not planned perfectly, step by step, by one or two organizations, by one or two people or five people. It's not like this. There is lots of unknowns, lots of chaos everywhere. And things can change dramatically, drastically, overnight, because things just happen, because that's the nature of life. Nobody really knows what's going to happen tomorrow. They can try to tell you, they can predict, that's fine. They can even make it very, be very open about why they think it's going to happen. They can be very convincing that this is because, look, you have to admit it, you have to see it. And then tomorrow, you're going to have, I don't know, some natural disaster striking, right? It's like earthquake or something. And everything changes. You can't predict these things. Think about this. It's good to be prepared, good to see those things, but do not put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go all in. It's all pre-planned. There's nothing I can do about this. No, it's not like this. Even if it's planned, there's a lot of things you can do about a whole thing and about your own life, which is most important. Focus on your own life first, right? Don't try to fix the planet or governments if you can't get your life in order. I always keep saying it, and it's a good advice I've heard for somebody else. So that is it. That's my point. If you like this video, please leave me a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you're not subscribing yet. Thank you so much for all your comments and all the support. If you do want to leave your comment, please be respectful, but by all means leave your comments. I read most of them, or if not all of them. I mean, there are like thousands now coming through comments, but I try to read all of them. It takes lots of time, but I'm trying to read all of them and answer most of them. So again, thanks so much for your time. Stay positive. Keep working on yourself, on your life. It's gonna be okay at the end. Life always finds a way. It's gonna be alright. Cheers.